And welcome back in. We got some national title numbers to talk about here on BetMGMU. Alongside RJ Choppy and John Martin, I'm Chris Mack. Make sure you're taking us with you wherever you're going this weekend. Week 3 of the college football slate, always inside your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts, including the TuneIn and iHeartRadio apps. Just search for BetMGMU. Also, maybe some parlays for you before we get on out of here. But let's talk national title picture first. Updated numbers at BetMGMU. Choppy, Ohio State, the favorite at 5-1, the number 1 team in the country. Penn State 6-1. Texas and Georgia 7-1. We've got Oregon 9-1, LSU 10-1, Notre Dame 14, Bama, Clemson 15, and beyond that, you get to the Ole Misses, Michigans, and Floridas of the world. So let's start with the team that you think makes the most sense. If I gave you $100 right now, Choppy, which I know is pocket change for someone like you, but if I gave you $100 right now, Choppy, where would your national championship bet be going?
I'm just trying to. I don't see Tennessee on that list. It's just like you
can keep squinting. Keep squinting. You're not going to find them.
Guess what? Not going to have to after this weekend, baby. That's right.
Okay.
Listen, honestly, the value I think lays with Oregon.
Yeah,
I think Oregon's got some decent value. I mean, 10-1. It's a good team. It's a really well coached team. Dan Lanning he is a great quote. For one, but he's also a really, really good coach. And he has cultivated an us versus them mentality. And what happened with Mike Gundy last week, and that just kind of it ties it all together. He is going to use that for the rest of the year. Absolutely love what he said. I think if I was just off a strict value perspective, I think Oregon at 10-1 is as good as you're going to find.
Not taking the 80-1 on your Vols?
Look. It's the fact that they're 80-1 is just such garbage. I'm blaming these voters there's like 3 voters. Don't think that I'm not the guy that goes to the Reddit page and sees who everybody voted for. All right, I'm not above that. I'm not. We know you got that.
We know you go to that level of petty on a regular basis.
I do, and I go find out exactly where they're from. All right, and I see. Oh, I could profile that. Oh, Big Ten school. Oh, West Coast. You're still asleep. You don't even know what's going on. And then you see the random Texas fan, and that just bothers me because I got a lot of problems. I got a lot of problems going on right now.
I don't hate that look at Oregon, John, at 10-1, especially when you look at the schedule. I mean, it's the whiteout at Penn State in a few weeks, and then what are we talking about outside of that? They host Indiana, maybe, a trip to Iowa, USC late in the year. I mean, even if they lose in Happy Valley, we're talking about 11-1 regular season, probably maybe a Big Ten championship game berth, depending on what shakes out with Penn State and Ohio State the rest of the year. Even if that doesn't happen, we're still talking about a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel compelled to bet any of these teams in the 3 digits. I'll say that. I think I would only start to look at – the truth of the matter is that Ohio State had the lowest win expectancy of any team in week 1 when they beat Texas. They had the lowest win expectancy of any team in week 1. Penn State, you're gonna have to overcome the psychology there. Georgia, you've got quarterback questions. Texas, you got quarterback questions. It's really weird how Steve Sarkisian is handling the Arch thing. Do you believe in LSU? I mean, I think that's maybe where my head would start is LSU at 9-1. But I can't really argue with 10-1 on Oregon. I think Notre Dame at 15-1 is interesting to be right back in that spot, over the course of the year. But I think the story is like, man, the top 4, like nobody wants to touch them. Nobody wants to, have anything to do with these teams because they feel very flawed.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at roster construction, like you said, every team's got a hole at quarterback, it feels like, other than Penn State and LSU maybe, right? Like those are the 2 teams we look at and say, okay, well, they got a quarterback if we're talking about the teams at the top of the board here. And then you look at both of those teams and what's the biggest hurdle? It's the coach, right? It's like you said, the psychology of it. Can this guy break through? I still think when you include quarterback, Penn State probably has the most complete roster. I'm not being a homer. I swear that defense, Dennis Sutton, is a monster. Kyron Hudson looks like a number one wide receiver, kid that transferred from USC. We'll see if they're prepared for Oregon when Oregon comes to town after playing basically nobody in the non-conference schedule. If the number were better, I would definitely be in on Penn State. Again, not as a homer, just because of the completeness of the roster. And James Franklin can't lose every big game ever, can he? I don't know, 6-1, 7-1. That number is tempting. But then I go down the list. Oregon makes sense because they should be in the playoff. Notre Dame, man, it feels like Marcus Freeman is primed to take the next step, and that would be actually winning the national championship. But again, the quarterback hole on the roster. So this is why the national championship picture, guys, is so interesting, because there is no clear-cut team that you go, bang, I got to put my money on them right now, Choppy.
No, there's not. There's and look, even the teams that you might say that with, like, you mentioned Penn State. Penn State's still got they've got a great team. They got a good quarterback. They still got to prove it. They're like USA Soccer. Like, they really do well against the British Virgin Islands. But when they come and they play like a real squad, it's like, oh, what is this round ball? We've never seen this before. We don't know what this is. And that's like Penn State in a nutshell. And that's unfortunate because they've had better talent. Their talent level over the last 6 years has been much better than what they've had to show for it. So I don't hate the idea. It's just like, I'm not ready to put my money where that mouth is at this point.
Anybody else farther down the board besides Choppy's Vols at 80-1? John, that you could see yourself maybe making a bet on to try and get ahead of things. Like, I see Miami at 28-1. I go, okay, maybe if I believe that week one was not a mirage and that Carson Beck can do this all year, that's a bet I want to get ahead of before they start to stack some wins and look like a true national championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miami's actually not a bad call out, to be honest, because that offensive line looked absolutely freaking massive against Notre Dame, and I just feel like, you look around and why can't they belong, And it's not in 28-1. It's not going to be 28-1 everywhere. But why can't, what really is the difference between Georgia and Miami? I mean, I don't know that there is a great deal of difference, but honestly, I want nothing to do with Clemson. I want nothing to do with Michigan. If you had some belief in this quarterback for Ole Miss, or Lane Kiffin, I think 40-1 is actually not terrible, but I don't. I mean, they've never made the playoff, but I just feel like Ole Miss is always one of those teams that's they're like on the cusp, right? But it just feels like one of those bets you make. It's 40-1. It ends up being 12-1, but you lose anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, throwing money down the drain or down in the sewer with Pennywise and Choppy.
I think it'll age. I think it'll age well, but it won't win. So it's just what's the point of that?
Well, the one hope there with Miami would be, okay, you get through Florida, assuming they get through USF, again, who we've talked about plenty already in this show. You get through Florida and Florida State, and look at the rest of that schedule. I know some people believe in Louisville, but, I mean, at SMU is the biggest test on the schedule, maybe. It's littered with W's late in the year if they play the rest of the season anything like they did in week one against Notre Dame. But that's a big question mark. I mean, we didn't even talk about Mario Cristobal and his ability to screw things up. So that's, like you said, it could fall apart at any second, not just the rest of the regular season, but once you get into the playoffs as well.